What's up guys, Coach Az. Today I want to talk a little bit about stretching, but I want to talk about it for those of you that are extremely inflexible. Unflexible? Inflexible? Not flexible? You get what I mean. I'm talking to those guys who can't touch their toes from straight legs.
That didn't sound good.
Who can't get their hands to the floor when they're in a box split, who can't sit down and fold themselves forward and reach their toes. Those people who really struggle with flexibility, you guys are often really left out. You would think there'd be loads of beginner stretching routines, but a lot of these videos that I watch that are considered beginner stretching routines are full with these hyper flexible people who have actually a little bit lost touch with what it really means to be not flexible, inflexible, unflexible. I should really check what that word is. Inflexible. Let's go. So what I'm going to give you today is 3 of the common stretches that people suggest, and then I'm going to give you 3 alternatives that I think work better if you're inflexible in particular. Now, this isn't to say that you can't use the first 3 stretches or that they won't benefit you or get you anywhere. It's just that I think these might be more effective for you and less, not uncomfortable, because stretching should have a level of discomfort to you, but more effective at getting the stretch where it needs to be in order for you to develop that flexibility. All right, let's start with stretch number 1. And this is a very common one, which is bending at the waist to try and touch your toes. Keeping your legs straight, and whether this be with your feet touching together or shoulder width apart as I've done here, and you're trying to stretch down to touch the floor with your fingertips whilst keeping your knees straight. Now, the intention here in particular is to stretch the hamstrings, the muscles that run down the back of your thighs and connect into your knees at the bottom and into your glutes or your butt up at the top. Now, the problem with this stretch is it's very easy to assist it with your back. So although you might feel like you're getting lower because you're focused on getting these fingertips to the floor, actually all you're doing is you're just bending your back some more. You're curving your spine over, which although is lowering your hands, it's not stretching your hamstrings anymore. You kind of limit your hamstrings once you stop hip hinging. And then from that point, let's say I'm upright like this. This is the hip point here. I hip hinge to here. And then to get lower, to get my hands lower, I start just curving my back, bending my back over like that. So no longer am I putting any stretch here at this joint. Instead, I've just moved the stretching up to this portion of my body as opposed to hinging more, which is going to stretch out the muscle of my hamstring further. So here's my alternative for this one. Do it one leg at a time and elevate that leg up onto the heel. So here I'm doing it supported against the bag. So if you've got this, you can do it against a wall, any hard surface really. You're gonna elevate that lead leg, and that lead leg is gonna stay dead straight. So what you've done already is you've engaged that leg in the stretch, just standing upright. Again, if you're really inflexible, just having that leg like that might be enough. You might just feel it. From there, you're now gonna bend the back leg, and again, start that hip hinging motion, and you should find that long before you feel the need to bend your back to get any lower, you're going to really feel that stretch kick in from the glute all the way down to the knee. Now, people always ask me when they're stretching, where should I feel this stretch? And it's going to vary from person to person. In particular, if you've got it really tight around the knees, you might feel it lower on the leg. If you've got really tight glutes, you might feel it higher up on the leg where the hamstring attaches into the glutes. Either way, I guarantee if you stretch this way, do both legs individually, you'll get a far superior stretch and not be so tempted to cheat the system by bending your back. Now, on top of this, I'd like to add, you don't need to do this supported by a wall. You can just elevate yourself up onto your heel, go through the same motion. You might find that you feel a little off balance this way. So if there is a wall available, I'd always recommend to use it. All right, common stretch number 2, and this is super common, right? The middle split or the box split, however you want to describe it. You're up on your feet and you're going to take your legs as wide as you can go. And again, you might be trying to get your hands down to touch the floor. Your coach might tell you to go down to one side, try and get your head to your knee, try and touch your toes. Maybe even going further than that, trying to bend your elbows to the ground or get your head to touch. And again, for a lot of really inflexible people, they struggle to even get their legs wide enough in order to be able to touch the floor. And what you'll see them do is they'll kind of lunge themselves forward so their hands are nowhere near their feet and they're kind of touching the floor miles away from themselves. Because in their mind, the objective is to touch the floor as opposed to get the stretch on the right muscles. And this is a big issue with a lot of this stretching, is if you focus on the instruction, which is put your hands on the floor, that's too broad, and what you'll end up doing is cheating the system in order to achieve that, but you're not necessarily giving yourself the best opportunity to stretch those muscles. All right, so the alternative for this stretch is to do it on your knees. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna really focus on getting that stretch on the inside of the legs, in particular the groin muscles and the inside of the thighs that run down towards the knee. Exactly the same concept here, box splitting, but now go down on your knees, turn your feet out and get them as wide as you can go. Now, once you're as wide as you can go, to really get this stretch to engage, I want you to think of backing up. So as if you were trying to push your butt backwards, or as if you were trying to sit down, which isn't going to be possible, but then you're going to really feel this stretch in particular switch on. Now, again, you can do this up on the hands, or you can go down on the elbows. You're going to feel that stretch move slightly because you're going to change the angle of your body and therefore the angle at the hip, but it's subtle. So really go with whatever feels more comfortable and more natural for you. What this is going to allow you to do is sit in this stretched position for a lot longer than if you were doing the box split. Now, the box split covers a lot more ground in terms of it's going to stretch right past down your knee. You're going to feel that stretch through a lot more muscles. However, again, if you're really inflexible, it's a difficult stretch to hold for a decent amount of time, and you end up falling out of it or getting a cramp or a stitch and you pull out too early, and therefore you don't really get the necessary benefits. So try this one, try it on the knees, and you should find that you can sit in that for a good minute and push yourself to a level of discomfort within the stretch without necessarily causing strain on your knees or on your hips. All right, last one. This is the seated box split or seated middle split. So now you're sat down on your butt, you've got your legs down, and then they're going as wide as you can. And again, the coach might be telling you to reach your fingertips forward, trying to get your head to the floor, trying to grab a toe on either side or on both sides, trying to get a head down to a knee. And again, if you're super inflexible, you're going to be one of these people who just sitting in this position is enough. And when you go to touch your toes, what automatically starts happening is your knee starts to bend in order to allow you to reach your toe. Once again, we're focusing here on the result we want, which is the instruction, touch your toes, as opposed to the stretch we want, which is keep your legs straight and just go as far as you can. I will say with this one, I'm going to offer an alternative, but if you can just sit in this position, it's an amazing stretch. And if you feel it just sitting in it, then that's really a great thing for you to do, because again, we're not necessarily relying too much on any balance. It's a seated stretch, so it's relatively safe and you can progress forward. However, it can be very difficult to progress forward in this stretch. So here's a way of allowing yourself to assist yourself with a bit of leverage, and that is do it one side at a time. So keep one leg out wide, but tuck the other leg in so that you can focus on one side. Now, if you couldn't reach your toes before, I'm not saying you're miles away, but you're kind of getting there, but you couldn't do it without bending the knee slightly. This is a great way to get there, because what it's gonna allow you to do now is twist your upper body to reach the toe whilst maintaining a straight leg. Now, again, I'm not telling you a cheat so that you can touch your toes. I'm giving you a way of getting there to do what people want you to do when you can touch your toes, which is use it as a point of leverage. So once you've got one hand on it, you can start trying to work on straightening yourself up to that leg, and you're going to feel that stretch really intensify on that side. Once again, if we separate it into two parts, we are losing some of the benefit of doing the full split stretch. But again, it removes some of the intense discomfort that you might feel and some of the cramping that you might get in your hips if you just focus one side at a time. Work one side, hold it for a good minute, switch, work the other side, and then maybe after that, come to both legs and see if you've seen any improvement. So there we have it, guys. Free stretches and free alternatives. Again, I'm not saying one is good and one is bad. I'm just saying that if you really struggle with flexibility training, but you want to get better at it, then maybe looking at some alternative stretches that can help get you to those points will help you. I'd be careful with watching yoga videos or gymnastic videos, because again, they tend to come from people that are very flexible and don't necessarily understand what it takes for someone who's, I don't know, 30, 40 years old, just getting into Muay Thai, kickboxing, karate, and you don't have anywhere near that level of flexibility, you need to go through a very different process. You can't just be dropping down in middle splits and expect to see big progress without risking some serious injuries that's going to take you out of training and ruin it all for you. Remember, with stretching in general, small and consistent stretching is better than once a week hitting it hard for an hour. So do 10-15 minutes every day. You're going to see a lot more benefits. This is coming from someone who is naturally very unflexible. I've never been able to achieve a full middle or a full front split, but I stretch regularly so that I can maintain my ability to kick head height and be mobile and loose within my sport. Guys, if you found the video helpful, hit that like button, hit subscribe, and I will see you on the next one.